여보세요? Okay. 안녕하세요. My name is Kin. So today there are drawing styles that I want to practice. I want to get into more expression, like expressive artwork, like doing all that stuff and everything. So I'm just gonna today's just gonna be a short stream. I was gonna work on some other stuff, but I think this just be like a fun little like react and then draw along. I'll just be skipping over some stuff. I'll be pausing the video. I'll be doing like a good reaction that's like a draw along. So let's begin the video.
101. This is going to be an introduction to basic character stylization. This is going to be very beginner friendly. Now, just before we dive in, I also want to mention that stylization is a very subjective topic. So that means the way I like to stylize my characters and the way you like to stylize your characters are probably going to be pretty different. So in this video, my goal is to kind of break down some examples for you guys, as well as show you guys just my personal thought process when it comes to acting.
See, I love this kind of artwork right here because of how simple it is. So let me draw real quick. Like how simple it is to actually do this. So one of the best ways to actually do this, like to do a fast one right here, is just to boom, boom. G pin would be better right here. So what I'm doing right here is pausing this. To get the flow of the face. See, this has nothing to do with this video. I just want to do a quick warm up. I'm doing faces and everything. Kind of like how he does this. See, this is like kind of a faster way for me to like do stuff because I like to sketch like I am a big fan of tracing, but professional tracing. So So how does Sam like to do this? He's very simple and stuff like that. And he'll go over it a little bit later. But usually when you do the Loomis method, actually the eyebrows are supposed to go here. But what happens... See, I also drew on this layer. So what happens and everything, what you want to do is actually just have the eyebrows go here for the girls and stuff like that. And then he talks about it, yeah, like right here with the nose. You see the Willem Dafoe in that picture? I've seen this image enough to know that's a fist. Alright, let's continue the video.
Actually stylizing my characters. Now with that being said, let's dive right into this topic. So as you guys know, human faces have certain proportions, certain measurements that we follow, and one of the most important measurements is the vertical length of the face. You're going to see that the brows, the nose, and the chin, as well as the forehead, are made up of three relatively equal thirds. Now, this is what changes a lot when it comes to stylization. Let's first take a look at some of these Disney concept sketches. Let's divide up the front of Rapunzel's face and let's draw a line down. Now let's draw a line across the eyebrows, at the bottom of the nose, as well as at the bottom of...
Okay, so right here, we're going to do this again. Don't worry about the face shape. We're just drawing along. Okay. So the face shape and everything right here. So if you look, we'll do a diagonal line going right here. No, not a diagonal line. A vertical line going right here, showing the middle of the face. Kind of want to be a little bit more like here. So along with right here is where you want to draw for women the hairline. So where the hairline starts and everything. And then with what he's gonna explain, I watched this. I watched this before. This is a good video by Sam Does Art. Please follow him. He already has 193 million followers. He needs 7 million more. No, that's 1.93. So he needs 2 million. He needs 2 million. I need one. Give me one subscriber today. I'll be happy. I'm in it for the love of the game. So what he explains is, so usually the eyebrow line is right here. The eyebrow line is right here. So you would usually draw the person's eyes and everything and stuff like that below this. And then nose goes to the bottom right here. So it would be, this would be like a realistic take. Boom. And then the mouth. That'd be a realistic take. Because nothing goes above, for the brain, nothing goes above the brain, like above the eyebrow, because this is where all the brain goes to and everything. So your ears, everything, your eyebrow. Technically, your eyebrows go right here also. So that's why I draw right below this plane, because it goes right here. So this is what would be technically correct. This would be technically correct. But let's go back. I do it old-fashioned way. Like I like doing everything analog with, like pressing the buttons. I don't do shortcuts because that's extra work, and my desk is cluttered and pressing, doing all the keys and everything. It's just easier to touch, do everything like this. There is a problem to that. I'll explain that in another video. But with this, because eyes are big and they go further out, notice how in the previous one I have the line right there. It actually goes up. So right here, middle, actually goes up quite a bit. So it actually goes halfway up, like halfway up the ear and stuff like that. And then the top of the eye starts here instead of the eyebrow. My Rapunzel looks like she hasn't been up for a couple of days. And then nose line goes right here also. Got a little bit of pouty face. But I get the idea. You get the idea. Maybe I should go for a thicker line. I think I need to do thicker. Yeah. Just so that it's easier to understand. Yeah, that looks almost correct. Yeah, I'll be using thick lines. Just get the point across. Okay.
Of the chin. And now what do you notice? Well, the middle section containing the eyes is much larger than the forehead and the chin. Let's take a look at this one, for example. If we draw a line across the middle, let's draw the brow line, let's draw in the nose line and the bottom of the chin. Now, if you take a look at the proportions here, again, the middle section is the biggest. Now, if you take a look at some of these character expressions of Zoe from K-pop Demon Hunters, you can see, let's take a more neutral expression here, maybe this one. Okay, let's draw the lines across the forehead, the brow, the bottom of the nose, as well as the bottom of the chin.
Okay. So it's just quick, simple lines like that. So what you want to do is just do a quick, simple lines if you want to do a little draw. Learn the Loomis technique if you want. It's just really basic. So just a basic gesture, just to get the idea of what he's going to be drawing over here. So we'll go over here, do another one right here. So we're going to draw the 3 lines, the 3 proportion lines that he brought up already. So we're going to do the hairline right there. And then he does this to show the eyebrow and everything, but the ears are kind of large. It actually kind of goes into right here. And then the jawline. That's another thing I want people to notice right here. The jawline is technically where the mouth should be. So even right here, connecting. But he's just giving an idea where the bottom of the nose should be. So, boom. And then chin line. And then you draw the eyebrows. And the eyebrows always usually go right here. Right here. And then the eyes are a little bit larger. Always compare it with the rest of the face. Going right here, bottom, eyebrow. Oh, the eyes actually go right here. Keep it simple. Side of the nose right there. And then right here, this is where a lot of people get confused. So when it comes to the side of the face, just draw it normally. Just go to the edge of the face and then just stop drawing right there. And then do that. Right there, draw and just stop. And then just make a connection point. And then you got Ruby's hair. So here's a fun thing that I like to do for hair is right here. So what I do is draw a line right here and then cut right there. Right there. Do triangles. And then you erase it. And then she has naturally looking hair. look at that.
Again, you're getting more emphasis in the eye area. Now, this shifting of proportions doesn't necessarily always happens the same way. You can see with some of these male characters, you're getting a lot more squish on the forehead. The face area and the chin area remain about the same length. Same thing over here, you can see a lot of squish on the forehead, but here at the bottom of the nose and the bottom of the chin, you're getting something that looks like about the same length. Now, if we look at Rumi and draw lines across here, you can see again her middle section involving the eyes, that's the section that's being emphasized. Whereas on Jinu, you can see he's got very equal proportions. There's still a lot of stylization that's happening here on his face, and it mostly involves the eyes. Now here's just a very quick and simple comparison versus a reference photo. You can see a normal person's eyes take up about this much space on the face. They actually leave about an eye length on the side of the head. Now, take a look at Jinu's eyes. There's no more room for another eye on the side of the head, so his eyes are highly exaggerated and expanded across the horizontal plane. Now, the reason a lot of animated characters tend to exaggerate and expand the middle section of the face involving the eyes is because they want to make the eyes bigger, because the eyes and the eyebrows are the most expressive facial feature. When you make these elements bigger, when you make them more exaggerated, it makes the character's expression easier to read, and it makes them actually a little bit more expressive. One thing I personally like to remember always is that good stylization should be simple. Take a look at this one right here, okay? So look at the eyes, one stroke for the top lid, one stroke for the iris, and one stroke for the bottom of the...
Okay, so we're gonna practice that. So, one stroke, one stroke, one stroke, one stroke, one stroke, one stroke, making him super tired looking. And if you notice, I'm doing this within the facial feature. I used to do things like by the eye first and work a way around it, but that's horrible for composition. You actually want to do composition with the skull intact, like do a little bit of shape language, shape blocking, and then you want to build your way into it. So right here, I'm just making sure everything's evenly across. I did it old school style too, where it's just like boom, boom, right above the earlobes. This is really traditional. Hairline's right there. Everything's kind of like just quick. Remember the bones are right there. Jaw. Jaw, mouth, bone. Mandible. Brain.
The eye. Now these are fully rendered shots, but again, you can see Jinu's eyes can be fully drawn with one stroke plus the iris plus a shape for the bottom lid, and that is it. So two very important things to remember, okay? Exaggeration of proportions as well as simplification of your shapes. Now let's just dive in here to the first demonstration. I want to give you guys a breakdown real quick and just talk about my thought process as I try to draw a more stylized version of this portrait based on the things that we've just observed. The final result probably won't look like our reference photo, but that shouldn't be the goal here. The goal here should just be to play around with the proportions and to kind of just figure out what type of shape language, what type of simplification you yourself gravitate towards. Again, I recommend you follow along just to, internalize this lesson a little bit better. But we're going to start off again with the shape of the head, the shape of the face. There's the front of the face, and I just want to use the ear here to kind of anchor the side of the head. Okay, so there's the back, there's the ear, and then we're going to draw in the shape of the neck. A lot of stylized characters, female characters.
So wait, he's talking about the anchoring? So I did badly. Just because I wanted to draw. What he meant by the anchoring is what I was talking about. So here's the anchoring of the ear. Here's where the halfway point should be. So you draw that. And then you draw the scalp. He's much better than doing this on the go than I am. And then right here, boom. The anchor.
In particular have thinner necks, and you can see the male characters have thicker necks. These are just very basic shape languages that convey a sense of masculinity versus femininity. So we're going to try to give her a thinner neck. Now for the fun part. Now we're going to outline where the hairline is going to start on this character's face. And then this is the part where you get to decide how you want to proportion your character. So for me, I think we're going to try to follow the proportional cues that we saw in some of these earlier examples, where the middle of the face is much more exaggerated and the forehead is a lot smaller. So normally you would divide this center line into 3 equal thirds, but in this case we are going to take this center line and we're going to make the forehead way smaller and make the middle section way bigger. And this is kind of the base that we're going to be working on. I'm going to start off with the hairline and just kind of use that hairline to frame the face. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the brows on the brow line. Again, we're using very simple and easy to understand shapes to kind of break down the eyebrows so that we don't overcomplicate things. I think that looks pretty good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw an arch for the front of the nose. Very uncomfortable if you're used to drawing photorealistic, but this leads us all the way down to this line at the bottom. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to find the eye line and I'm going to find the shape of the eyes. Again, the eyes I'm going to keep as simple as possible. So we're going to draw one line for the upper lid here and another line on the other side for the upper lid. Okay, the next thing I want to do is add in the shape of the iris. Again, just keeping it super simple and making sure that the character looks like she's looking in one direction. So the next thing I want to do is add in the shape of the lower lid. 1, 2 lines kind of like that, and I want to just expand the shape of the iris down a little bit so that it's touching the lower lid. Now I'm going to erase away the original construction line on the outside of the face, and I want to just draw in the shape of the silhouette. Now moving our way back down, I'm going to add a simple line for the nostril, just keeping it really minimal. A simple silhouette for the upper lip. Okay, find the opening of the mouth, find the corner of the mouth, and then add in a simple silhouette for the lower lip, just like that. Bring it down to the chin, bring it back in, follow the jawline right back up to the ear. And we can add in a little bit of shading here for the lips. I'm going to add in some shading to the eyebrows. I could also add a bit of detail just to, indicate the double eyelid there, kind of like you see in the reference. Now, let's go back to the ear. I just want to shrink the side of the ear a little bit because you can see it lines up with the eye line roughly. So the top of the ear is going to be right there, and then the bottom is going to just move down a little bit. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. So when I'm drawing, you're going to see a lot of my shape language, a lot of my line work involves very geometrical straight lines, and that's just kind of the way that I personally like to work. You, of course, don't have to work like that. If you prefer something a little bit more messy, a little bit more organic, you could always go for that in your drawings. I'm going to take my eraser tool and just add in a couple of highlights in her eyes, and look at how much that brings her to life. Let's end it off with another male portrait. Now we're going to do the same thing as before. Okay, so we're going to just plan this out by drawing in the shape of the head, the shape of the face. He's got a pretty thick neck. Okay, so that's kind of like the silk. So that's kind of see a little bit more organic.
I need to work on that. Alright, that looks bad. But I'm new to this.
organic, you could always go for that in your drawings. I'm going to take my eraser tool and just add in a couple of highlights in her eyes, and look at how much that brings her to life. Let's end it off with another male portrait. Now we're going to do the same thing as before. Okay, so we're going to just plan this out by drawing in the shape of the head, the shape of the face. He's got a pretty thick neck. Okay, so that's kind of like the silhouette for this character. Now I can also add on just a basic silhouette for the hair. That being done, let's find the hairline for this character. And once we've established that, we've also established where the chin is, we can start to kind of play around with the proportions a little bit. His eyebrows seem to be a little bit raised in the reference photo, so maybe we can actually shrink the size of the forehead a bit and then have the nose to the chin take up about 2 equal halves on the rest of the face. Now, as always, I like to go from the top to the bottom, and I want to capture kind of this raised shape of his eyebrow. And here's the other eyebrow. This one's kind of a little bit lower. I want to add a bit more tension, so let's add in some wrinkles on the forehead. Now, the next thing I want to do is find the length of the eyes. I'm going to make them a lot longer than you see in the reference, so they take up more space on the front of the face. Kind of follow the shape of the eyes in the reference photo. So the top lid is a lot more curved and the bottom lid is a lot more straight. And I want to draw in the shape of the iris. I think that's pretty good. So the eyes look a lot bigger than they do in the reference. Right away, you know, you can see just how much the eyes and the brows
Mm.
actually impact, you know, the expression of a character, because we haven't even drawn the nose and the mouth yet, and you can already tell that, you know, he's got some attitude. Follow this brow down, lead that into the ridge of the nose, and following the shape that we see in the reference. Now the next thing I want to do is we're going to move down to the mouth. I think we're going to place the mouth just above the halfway point, somewhere right there. So let's draw in the middle of the mouth. Let's draw in the corner of the mouth. After you've established that, you can again erase away more of these construction lines, and we can start to then refine the silhouette of the face. So here you can see this is the original construction line. I'm going to just erase that. I'm going to add in bigger cheeks here, a stronger jaw there. That is going to lead down to a straight for the chin, and then
So different.
and this line is going to lead over to this side of the jaw, and that's going to lead into the ear, just like that. Now I can choose to add in the bottom lid for the eye here. We can do that maybe like that. Add in a bird for the top lip, and add in a line for the bottom lip. And then we're going to just kind of cut out the shape of the ear. Next thing I want to do is I want to start adding some shape to the hair. These main shapes that kind of indicate the direction of the hair and the style of the hair. A little bit of it is going to cover the eyebrow, and then here on the other side, the hair is going to go in that same direction. So like that, and part of it is going to cover the front of the face. So there you go. Now you have a stylized version of this character. Now the stylization cues that I've used throughout this video are just kind of a general guideline, and of course they can be applied and manipulated to fit other characters as well. Stylization is very subjective, so go out there, explore, go find some references, find some artists whose styles that you like, and try to copy what they're doing. Only by experimenting do you find the things that you like, the things that you dislike, and you find kind of a visual language that you eventually gravitate towards. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Hopefully this kind of gives you a bit of an insight into some of the...
Okay, that was pretty good. That gave me an idea. I got distracted at the very end, and oh, got impatient. But no, I'll do other tutorials of like similar stuff like this, and I'll be more talkative. But that was a good video. Look at how bad this is. It's beautifully bad. I'm trying to keep up with him. A lot of the stuff he does is like a little bit edited, like jump cuts. But he's very good at doing things very fast in his style, and he does this about like 8 to 9 hours a day. So he's very good at what he does, and he knows what he does well. So go follow Sam Does Art. That was really good. That was a good follow along. All right, have fun. 안녕히 가세요.